What's up, YouTube? Cholula's Comics back again with episode 3. You guys see the shirt, you see the hat, you know what time it is. It's Wolverine Wednesday. So I want to thank everybody for sticking with me so far. Episode 3, Wolverine Wednesdays. Next, and most importantly, I got to give a big thank you to Eddie, the comic guy, for helping me out and making the thumbnails, the cover art for this video, for the previous one as well. I didn't even ask him to do it; he just did it. He did a fantastic job. You know what, Eddie, hermano, gracias, bro. I really appreciate it. I can't thank you enough for offering, your talent, brother. Um, for some ridiculous reason, you guys don't know who Eddie is. You guys are not subscribed to him. Please check him out. He's a great artist. He shows off great books. He's always showing off his quirky and wonderful humor. It shines through in all of his videos. So make sure you check him out. Give him a sub. But anyways, I'm gonna get that's enough out of me. I'm gonna get to the main point of it. It's the books. Let's talk about the books. This week I'm bringing you my synopsis on books 4, 5, and 6 as introduced in Wolverine Volume 1, the 1988 miniseries. Once again, these are great books that I would highly recommend slabbing if you're a Wolverine fan. Reason being is we have that great second cover art that's in the back. This is issue number 4, and in the back we have some beautiful artwork by the bodacious Barry Windsor Smith. So we get that back cover art on that. Here is issue 5, and we get that back cover art again. Once again, this one is by the jolting John Smith. Really cool artwork, and I'll give you guys a better close-up. I know my camera is not the best, but I'll be sure to give you guys a better close-up when I start the rest of the video. And actually, let me turn that one around real quick just so you guys can see it. And finally, issue number 6. And check this out. If you guys didn't know, guess who did the back cover to this? I mean, the front cover is awesome as it is, but the back cover, talented Todd McFarlane. Bet you guys didn't know that. That's dope. Love that one. So, yeah, anyways, you guys, without further ado, let's get into the books. I hope you enjoy it. Here we go. So, as always, starting off with the credits, the writer, we have the great Chris Claremont. Penciler is John Buscema. Inker is Al Williamson. The letterer for book 4 is Tom Orzechowski, but for books 5 and 6, we switch over to Janice Chiang. Colorist, once again, is Glennis Oliver. Editor is Bob Harris. And Tom DeFalco, and this is actually kind of funny, he's the senior editor, but he is actually credited in book 4 as the grave robber, in book 5 as the crime lord, and in book 6 as captain of the guard. So I thought that was kind of just a little funny extra that the artist put in there. So the beginning of book 4 is titled Bloodsport. In this book, we're introduced to the crime lord of Madripoor, Tiger. Kind of an interesting spelling on her name. First is Tyger, and then second is Tiger. But I guess more importantly, we get 2 first appearances in this book. As the title suggests, one is Bloodsport, and the second is Roughhouse. There are a couple of C-list villains, but still a couple of guys who play an interesting role in Wolverine's early storyline. Something else I found that was kind of interesting. When I tried to look up more information on Bloodsport, I couldn't find him, and he ended up coming up as Bloodscream. I think that's really interesting because throughout the entirety of the book, he's referred to as Bloodsport. He's introduced as Bloodsport. But when I looked him up on Marvel's official page, he's listed as Bloodscream. So I don't know if this is one of those cases where, the writers, after not using a character for so long, just kind of forgot what his name was or what his history was and that kind of thing, and just reverted to whatever they felt like doing, which we know that happens sometimes in continuity. But anyways, so this book, it opens up with a pretty cool chase scene that introduces our new villains for the first time. Roughhouse and Bloodsport are basically the enforcers to a man named General Coy. And we'll get introduced to General Coy a little bit later. But they're in the middle of hunting down Ranja, which is the guy that you see on your screen right now. And Ranja is the right-hand man to the Prince of Madripoor. Bloodsport basically uses his vampire powers to drain Raja of all the blood in his body. Next, our villains pay a visit to Archibald Corrigan, the best pilot on the island. He's also an errand boy to Tiger, who we know is the reigning crime lord in Madripoor. Bloodsport and Roughhouse are there to make Archie an offer that he can't refuse. He needs to stop flying his planes for Tiger and start running opium for General Chang. We also find out that Bloodsport is not just a vampire-like creature who can draw and feed on your blood, but he does it just by skin-to-skin contact. The other thing about him is that once he's tasted your blood, he is psychically linked to you forever. Naturally, our buddy Patch gets wind of this, and he breaks into General Koi's suite to see what he can find out. While he's there, he has a run-in with a familiar face, former hero and new mutant team member Karma. Karma has the power to possess people's minds and make them do whatever she wants. Wolverine, as Patch, finds out that Karma is the niece of General Koi, and she's been using her mutant powers to help him further his criminal enterprise. Patch asks Karma what would make a hero change sides. She pretty much tells him to mind his business. We cut to a scene on the streets of Madripoor Market. While Jessica Drew and Lindsay McCabe are getting sexually harassed by Roughhouse, they are interrupted by a woman's scream. They find out that the woman and her entire room full of men were recently slaughtered by General Koi's gang. In order to get answers, Jessica and Lindsay go to see Patch at the Princess Bar. Here, Lindsay and Jessica finally meet the infamous Tiger, the lady in charge of the underbelly of Madripoor. Needless to say, they are far from impressed. After an uncomfortable and tense conversation, Tiger decides that she needs to pay the pirate prince of Madripoor a personal visit, accompanied by Patch, of course. Patch is convinced that Tiger is the lesser of two evils, because while Tiger is the leader of the crime syndicate, she doesn't deal in the slave trade or in drugs. Patch believes he is Tiger's conscience. On the way to see the prince, they are confronted by Roughhouse and Bloodsport. Finally, we get to see a really great fight scene between the brawling bruiser Roughhouse and Patch. Unfortunately, he can't really let his full Wolverine out because he's still supposed to be undercover as Patch. But as Wolverine's fighting Roughhouse, Bloodsport is busy trying to drain Tiger of her life force and pretty much end her so that General Koi can take her position as the king of the crime syndicate. With Wolverine's back against the ropes and the woman that he's sworn to protect slowly slipping away, our hero lucks out as Karma has a sudden change of heart and intervenes by possessing Roughhouse and Bloodsport. Wolverine considers killing them both while they are in their possessed state, but he decides that he's too weak. Instead, he thanks Karma. And this next line is another key line into how Wolverine thinks. He says, "She flashed a smile as I carried Tiger away. Gratitude, I think, for a small chance to recapture how it felt to be on the side of angels." As bad as things get for him, he knows what side he plays for, and he does his damnedest to stay on that side. Wolverine convinces Jessica and Lindsay to take care of Tiger while he is away. Wolverine goes on to enlist the help of our pilot and hero in wait, Archie. Patch needs a ride to the Golden Triangle to take out General Koi's opium fields in order to even the playing field for Tiger. Archie, remembering the threats he received from Bloodsport and Roughhouse earlier in the book, reluctantly joins Wolverine on what Archie believes to be a suicide mission. Finally, we get to see Roughhouse and Bloodsport report to General Koi that they failed in their mission to kill Tiger, but they did wound her. We also get to see that while Karma is helping her uncle, she doesn't seem to be doing it of her own free will. I wonder if we'll get to see why. Let's find out in the next issue, Hunter's Moon. And as always, you guys, I want to bring the final page of this book to a close by showing off the back cover. Again, it's a Wolverine gallery done by the awesome artist Barry Windsor Smith. Book 5, Hunter's Moon. In this book, Wolverine sets out on a path to hit General Koi where it hurts, by taking out his opium gardens. In the meantime, back in Madripoor, Jessica Drew and Lindsay McCabe are ready to join the fight, even if it means protecting a bad guy, Tiger. This issue opens up again at a table of General Koi with a very emotionally distraught Karma. She's so upset at her uncle's plans for the future that she broke her wine glass with her bare hand and bled all over the table. Bloodsport, smelling the blood in the air, feigns concern with the alternative motive to go and taste her blood and become psychically linked to her for what he says is, from now to beyond the grave. Something that I thought was kind of a cool side note is that Karma is actually Vietnamese, and she often speaks not only in English and in Vietnamese, but also in French. And I think that's kind of a cool little nod to history, and because it beckons back to the French occupation of Vietnam. But anyways, back to the book. This is a predominantly action issue with great artwork, awesome splash page here. As we cut to Wolverine and Archie flying into the heart of the Golden Triangle to go and take out General Koi's opium fields, in an attempt once again to even the playing field between Koi and Tiger Tiger. But even as they fly in, Archie is second guessing his decisions to help Wolverine. He's deathly afraid of Bloodsport and contemplates shooting Logan in the back of the head while he's flying the plane in order to get out of having to fight Bloodsport and Roughhouse. But Archie realizes that he has never been a bad guy and he is way too old to be starting bad habits now. No sooner than Archie can make up his mind as to what team he's going to be on, their plane is under attack by another plane from General Koi's forces. Thinking quickly, Patch throws himself out of the plane in order to land on the other plane and cut the wings off that bad boy. As that plane goes crashing down, so does Patch into a nearby lake. Cut back to Madripoor, where Jessica and Lindsay meet with Chang, a good friend of Patch, in order to seek asylum for the Lady Tiger Tiger, who's still very weak from being drained from almost all of her blood by the dread vampire Bloodsport. While watching over Tiger, Jessica notices a 19th century photo of a very, very young Chang and another man that she believes to be Patch. But how could this be, she asks herself, when Chang interrupts her thought process by coming in to offer Lindsay this impenetrable armor suit in order to protect her from any harm. But just when Lindsay and Jessica think that they're safe, Roughhouse and Bloodsport come crashing through the wall. We now cut to Wolverine basically cleaning up shop in the opium fields, beating, slashing, and trapping enemy forces. I mean, seriously, you guys, I can't emphasize enough how badass Wolverine is in these scenes. Not just because he takes everyone down, but which is basically like a small army, but the way in which he does it. On the Marvel side of things, I don't think there's another better tactician other than Captain America. But, with his centuries of military experience and training, Wolverine is a really close second. With the opium field slashed and burned, and the General Koi's forces all but depleted in the Golden Triangle, Archie and Patch head home, not knowing what awaits them, or what fate poor Chang has met, trying to protect Patch's friends. But we'll find out in the next book, titled Roughhouse. And finally, I do want to leave you with this wonderful back cover illustration by John Bolton. Once again, we see Wolverine Gallery. Book 6, titled Roughhouse. Is the former hero and New Mutants team member ready to rejoin the side of the Angels? Can the puny runt take on the powerhouse team of Bloodsport and Roughhouse all on his own? What became of Mr. Chang, Jessica Drew, and Lindsay McCabe? Well, let's find out. Splash page, splash page, splash page. A well done and well placed splash page will set the tone of the rest of the book. This book opens up with the dolled up Karma using her feminine charms and French accent to try and gain entry into the Prince of Madripoor's castle in order to try and save Jessica and Lindsay from a fate worse than death. After a little bit of finagling and a little bit of possession, Karma is successful in gaining entry into the castle, but her hold on the guard doesn't last long. Lucky for her, Patch and Archie are already in the castle on the same but separate rescue mission. Karma, feeling worse for her actions, explains to our heroes that she used to be a good guy, and in fact, a superhero. But when she found out her younger brother and sister were both kidnapped, she felt the only way to track them down was to use her uncle's crime connections. When Patch asks Karma what made her switch back to the side of the Angels, she explains, "It was you, monsieur. You reminded me of the me that I had tried so hard to forget." Meanwhile, in other parts of the castle, we see General Koi living the good life and having Jessica and Lindsay dress as his slaves. However, the general is really frustrated at the fact that Lindsay used a suit that the now deceased Chang gave her and used it to protect Tiger. No one can seem to get it off, and Koi threatens Lindsay to take it off or he'll be forced to kill them all. Just as Koi makes his biggest threat, Lindsay comes to her senses and tells him to kick rocks. Just then, enter Patch making some pretty good threats of his own. And this time, he doesn't hold back. He knows how tough it was to fight Roughhouse and Bloodsport the last time, and this time, he has to pop the claws. See, Wolverine is old school. He says, usually, when someone comes at me with fists, I meet them in kind. But with Roughhouse being more than human, Wolverine has to let loose and show his more than human side. Soon the whole gang is sucked into this whirlpool that contains this horrible sea creature. Patch is easily able to cut his way through, and he's hopeful that Roughhouse had to succumb to the monster, but no such luck as Roughhouse drags himself out of the murky depth. Jessica, now snapped out of her trance, remembers Roughhouse and remembers the way he treated her at the at the market in book 1, and she makes sure to make him pay for that. With Roughhouse still on his feet, Wolverine has no choice but to go full-on berserker. Just as the tides are starting to turn and our heroes are getting the upper hand, a voice from the other side of the room calls out and is made known that the prince of the castle has returned. With that, everyone is stopped dead in their tracks, and they're all made to bow before the prince. And that's the end of that issue, you guys, but we get a sneak preview of the next issue that's going to feature Mr. Fix-It. And for those of you guys who don't know who I'm talking about or what I'm talking about, Mr. Fix-It is my favorite Gray Goliath. And if you still don't know who it is, don't worry, because I will bring that to you next week. And just the way we end with each one of these books, I got to bring you the back cover, our Wolverine gallery. And this is actually one of my favorites because it's done by the great Todd McFarlane. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. And with that, you guys, this brings this week's episode of Wolverine Wednesdays to a close. As always, thank you for sticking with me. A big thank you again to Eddie the Comic Guy for his contributions to my Wolverine Wednesday series. And, as always, until I see you guys next time, keep stacking hella comics.